The first question I got was, why did Jesus call Peter the rock on which he will build his church? So we're going to look at that in just a second. We're going to look at Matthew chapter 16, verse 13 to 20. Matthew 16, verse 13 to 20. All right. And it says, when Jesus came into the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? This verse is always funny to me because he answers them while asking the question. So they said, some say John the Baptist, some Elijah, and others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. He said to them, but who do you say that I am? Simon Peter answered and said, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Jesus answered and said to him, blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I also say to you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it. And I'll give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Then he commanded his disciples that they should tell no one that he was Jesus the Christ. Now, we read all of this for context, so we all are starting from the same page. Now, narrowing down to what this question is about, why did Jesus say Peter is the rock? He didn't. He didn't say Peter is the rock. What he's talking about is the statement that Peter uttered. Okay, he said, who do you say that I am? And Peter said, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And then Jesus says, blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, which is basically son of Jonah. For flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I say to you that you are Peter, and on this rock, what is this rock? This rock is the revelation of who Jesus is, the revelation that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, the revelation that Jesus of Nazareth is the Messiah. That is the rock on which Jesus is building his church. It is not Peter. The rock is not Peter. And this some denominations and Catholics have mixed this up and presume that the church is built on Peter, but God would never build his church on a person. He will not build it on a fallible human. Okay, he would build it on the revelation of who he truly is. So the gospel is centered on understanding that Jesus Christ is God, that he came to earth, he sacrificed, he gave his life for us so that we will be reconciled to the Father. He died and was resurrected on the third day. Okay, that's that revelation, that sequence of events proves that he is God. So the gospel is centered on this truth. And like Paul says, if there's no resurrection, then our gospel is in vain, or our faith is in vain. That's the revelation. That's the revelation that the church is built on. So it's not Peter, it's the revelation of who Jesus is. And this wasn't a question, but I'll tackle it anyway. In verse 19, when it says, I'll give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose will be loose. Whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. This verse has also been twisted many times, and it's not talking about binding a demon or loosing a demon or binding a sickness or loosing a sickness. It is Jesus giving authority to Peter and the apostles, right, to approve and disapprove of what this of things that will happen in the church. So the word bind here means to disallow. It doesn't mean to like stop a demon from operating, but it's been used in wrong ways in different denominations. The words bind and loose here are you allowing or disallowing things? For example, there was a time that there was a dispute: should Gentiles be circumcised in order to be saved? Okay, and they came to the realization or the understanding that no, they do not need to be circumcised to be saved. And this is in the book of Acts. Now that is an example of binding and loosing. And it doesn't mean that they choose what is true or not. It just means that because they know who Christ is, God is going to use them to, in the same way that God used Moses to bring the law, he's going to use them to explain the New Testament. So whatever they allow will be allowed in heaven is a reflection of what is allowed or what is true. God is going to use them to explain what is true. It's not talking about binding or loosing demons. That's not the context of this verse. Let's start out through that in there real quick since we're in the area.